Сьогодні почуємо про стан українського війська від пані Джил Сенклер, нового представника Канади на дорадчій раді військових реформ України.
Ідеї, зусилля, успіх. Спонсоровані Українською кредитовою спілкою. Дорогі глядачі, вітаємо вас на українській телемережі «Контакт». Тепер маємо шану вітати на програмі канадського делегата до військових реформ в Україні, пані Джил Сенклер. Madam Sinclair, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
I was just introducing you to our audience. And we're very interested in finding out from you what this position actually means and what it involves. And we also understand that you have already just come back from Ukraine and have inspected whatever is happening with the armed forces there. And we do also understand that considering that the Ukrainian armed forces before were either infiltrated or non-existent, and even there was this feeling of, well, who needs an army? We have our friends, the Russians next door. So now everything has changed, and we also hear that this army is actually, if not in current great shape, but a lot better than was before. I know that's a mouthful, but you're the one that's supposed to be talking, not me. But please go ahead if you can to respond to any of these questions.
Well, thanks very much, Yuri, and Dobry Den to all of your viewers out there. Delighted to be with you, and I have to say I'm delighted to have been invited by my minister, the Minister of National Defense, to help out with the Defense Reform Advisory Board, which in fact is a creation of the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian Minister of Defense. So you have asked a lot of different things. So let me just back up a little bit. Yes, I've been back and forth to Ukraine now since my appointment 6 months ago. Every month I've gone for a week. As you know and your viewers know, this is an extraordinary country living in very, very complex times. And reforming a defense ministry and a military is difficult at the best of times. It's extremely difficult when you're facing conflict in the East, as Ukraine is. It's extremely difficult when, in fact, you're trying to reform almost all of your institutions of government, which is what the Ukrainian government decided to do a few years ago. So the Defense Reform Advisory Board is a rather neat, interesting creation, I would say, of the Ukrainian Minister of National Defense. He invited Canada and a number of other close friends and partners. Of course, there's no one closer or friendlier than Canada, as we know with Ukraine. But the United States, the United Kingdom, Lithuania, and Germany. I have those colleagues, 4 retired generals and myself, who are advising directly the Minister of Defense of Ukraine on all issues of reform. So this is everything from the military to how do you structure your defense ministry, how do you get your logistics working, how do you deal with professionalizing the military. Basically, this is the big objective of the Ukrainian government is to point Ukraine in a Euro-Atlantic direction in terms of its vocation going forward. That is, they want to meet Euro-Atlantic standards, to be able to work more closely with NATO countries, to be able to structure the military and the armed forces much more as we would in a Western Euro-Atlantic situation. So that, in a nutshell, is sort of the mandate that we have.
Now, you just come back from Ukraine. What do you feel, where is this standard of the Ukrainian army in relation to European or Western standards?
Well, you, I think, said it extremely well at the outset. 3.5 years ago, when Russia first began its actions in the east and with Crimea, the Ukrainian army was basically absent. And so what you had was this absolutely extraordinary outpouring of civil society that really took it upon themselves to say, okay, if the army isn't going to defend us, as you said, from those who we didn't think we needed to defend ourselves against, then we're going to do it. And so you had almost a crowdsourced military where you had people providing equipment and people going to the front to help in the fight and people providing food. Well, I can tell you that since those days of inspirational but improvised response to a military threat, When you go and you visit the military units now and you speak with the leadership and you speak with the minister, you can see that this is a professionalizing armed forces. And I have to say that a big chunk of this is thanks to the really, I think, extraordinary work of the Canadian Armed Forces operations, training operation that has been in place for the last couple of years and has recently been renewed. And there are other partners that are helping Ukraine too to build a professional military force in all senses of the word. So when I've been around to the units, as I was a few weeks ago with my colleagues, I mean, you see professional soldiers, you see young, highly motivated individuals, you see people training in a very professional way. Of course, there's lots more that needs to be done. That's why we're delighted that we will be there again with Op Unifier for another couple of years, as the government, the Canadian government, announced just a couple of weeks ago. So there's always more work to be done, but there has been a real transformation in the Ukrainian armed forces, including moving to what is called a contract approach to a military. That is, moving from conscripts to a volunteer force. So there are many different examples I could give you of where we see change pointed in the right direction.
Now, Madame Sinclair, what about this concept of a hybrid war? Is Canada learning anything, or is the Canadian military learning anything from strategies that need to be implemented when you're fighting a war with somebody that says they're not there?
Well, and you know, some of these questions are a little bit beyond my remit as an expert advisor on the Defense Reform Advisory Board. But I can tell you that the Ukrainians have a lot of lessons to share with people, and we know that they have been very open to sharing what they are experiencing in dealing with the people who aren't there, as you so eloquently put it. You know, hybrid warfare is extremely complex because it's designed not to be attributable. It's designed to insinuate itself into people's societies. So you can't really say, well, you've crossed a line, therefore you're an aggressor, therefore. It's designed to be very deliberately gray. And I can tell you that our amazing Canadian Armed Forces personnel who are working and doing the training, we've trained almost 3,000 Ukrainian Armed Forces personnel so far. They're learning a lot from the Ukrainians. This is a very professional military with a lot of experiences being learned the hard way, as they say in the military.
Now, Madame Sinclair, to sort of a global picture, you know, we say this war in Ukraine, it's very far away, and the Ukraine is fighting a war with its neighbors' aggression. But Canada is also a neighbor of Russia, and especially up in the Arctic, and there already have been claims by Russia for territories that Canada, in a sense, considers our territory. What are we learning? What is Canada gleaming from this in terms of Canada's position as Russia, as a neighbor to friendly Russia?
Well, again, Yuri, I'm not going to go too far there because it's really more a question that you might want to ask our Minister of Foreign Affairs, for example. But I can tell you that
we'll talk
nothing.
to him in a couple of weeks, we hope.
Exactly. That hence my reference to her. But, you know, nobody is far away in this world, right? I mean, I think, you know, the answer is there's nothing that's far away. You know, borders are very close. The world is literally globalized. Of course, Canada sits in a privileged geographic position, but yeah, there's Russia. You know, we're not that far from Europe. We're tied into all of these global events because we're, a faithful, long-standing member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. We take our responsibilities extremely seriously in terms of global peace and security. So we keep a close eye on everything, and that's why we were amongst the first to be out there to help Ukraine when she needed help, to help Ukraine when she became independent. That's what it's all about when you're a close friend and partner of a country.
Now, Madame Sinclair, we're talking about a hybrid war being a new thing, but there's something else that's come up that's sort of new in the news, but not really new in reality, and that's the cyber war. To what extent is Canada prepared in terms of battling or creating firewalls or in any way stopping infiltration of the cyber system in Canada?
Well, goodness, Yuri, again, I'm not averse to talking about most things, but I really can't get into too much detail about cyber. I can just tell you, because I'm a senior official in the Government of Canada working with the Department of National Defence, that in terms of looking at all of the threats that are out there, the Canadian government is aware that, conflicts and challenges are changing. The nature of them is changing. And so, of course, we have to be prepared. And whether it's the Canadian Armed Forces or the Department of, Public Safety or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or wherever, things like cyber are not so new any longer, right? So, we're working on all of those issues.
Madame Sinclair, thank you very much for spending time with us. And we hope to be speaking to you again and other people in positions of Canadian ministries in relation to Ukraine and the situation out there. And we also wish you all the best in your what was a new position, but by the time we have you here, it's 6 months. And congratulations on one side, and good luck for future your future work in this regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yuri. It's a delight, as I say, and privilege to work with my Ukrainian partners, and thank you for having me today on your program.